Let me ask you a direct question. As a man of faith, are you investing your life where it matters most? Picture yourself as a gallon of water, and God is not going to fill you up again with any more water. You're only a gallon left. Where would you want to pour your life? What places would you want to pour into? In 16-ounce cups, and you're only a gallon left. Where would you want to pour? That's the intensive of this study in the book of Titus, brothers, is that God is calling us to invest our life in places and spaces where we make the most impact. Where is that for you? And let me walk you through. It's just about 7 minutes in this study that you and I may find out what God is saying. If you're ready, let's go. Notice this. You don't become like Jesus by passively hoping it happens. Just because you're a believer does not mean that you will become like Christ. You've got to be intentional and directional. Did you write that down? Intentional and directional. If you're going to become the man that God has intended for you to be. I repeat what I said earlier. You're only a gallon of water. And you've got to pour yourself out into spaces and places, and you won't get any more water, so to speak. Where would you want to make sure you're pouring into? Listen, everything in a man's life hinges on the kind of man he is. What kind of man are you? Can I tell you, yet none of us naturally become a godly man. That's something we have to learn, pursue, and cultivate. Which one of those strike you the most? Are you learning it? Or are you at the level of pursuing it? Or you understand all the principles and you continue to cultivate it? I like to get your person of contact to ask you that direct question at the end of this video. Where are you? Learning, pursuing, or cultivating? Let me help you. The gospel is the only pathway out of a distorted view of manhood. What are some distorted views of a man? You know, there's some people say real men don't cry. Well, that's a lie. What are some distorted views of a man? I'm asking your leader to kind of help me with this at the end of this video to dive into that. Some distorted views of manhood. Sow our oats everywhere. Papa was a rolling stone. Wherever he laid his hat was his home. Is that a true view or is that a distorted view? I want to show you how to get back to God's original intent for your life so you can stand like a disciple. Let's go. So the temperature of a man's heart always affects the temperature of those around him. Brothers, you change the game by the temperature you carry. So in this topic, in this study, we're going to talk about dominion. What does it mean to dominate as a man? What does it mean to be the good news, the gospel as a man? What is our real identity as a man, as a born male? What is our assignment from God as a man? What authority do we carry as a man? What should be our character as a man? And I love the word character because in the middle of the word character is a 3-letter word, ACT. The way you act defines your character. Write that down. The way you act. In the middle of character are 3 letters, ACT, and that small word act defines what character means. What should the doctrine be of a man? What should be our belief system? What's the mission of a man? The zeal of a man? The investments. I like that one. Remember, you got to pour yourself out. What are the spaces and places you're going to pour yourself into? Let's go. So dominion means to rule or control. In what area do you feel like you need to be walking in more domination right now? You need to be dominating at this time in your life. What dominion do you need to have in your life? Come on, rulers and teachers, help me to come back to this later. You need to have rule and control over your life. In what area do you feel like you need to be walking in more domination, dominion? Let's go. The gospel is the good news for you. In what area do you feel like you need the gospel? You need it in the way you walk, in the way you talk, in the way you live, in the way you give, in family and workspace, attending church, following God. What area do you feel like you need more of the gospel and why? Identity. Understanding who you are. Do you know who you are? I love that portion in that movie, Black Panther in Wakanda, where the mother says to her son, show them who you are. Well, that response, that word shot out to his spirit, and because he knew who he was, he won the battle. Understanding who you are and your purpose. In what area do you feel like you need to know not only yourself better, but God better? Do you need to know God better as a master over your life? Do you need to know God better as a father figure over your life? Do you need to know God better as a friend in your life, an advocate, an ally? Do you need to know God better as a lover in your life? Don't run from that word, because he loves you just as you are. And if you struggle with the word lover, that says more about you than it does about God. Identity is important. Assignments. Understanding what you must do at this stage of your life. These are things you must do. Man, you can't do at 62 what you did at 22. You might think you can, but the Bible tells you you can't. So what are the assignments at this level of your life you need to be doing? Are you listening to me? I pray that you are. I pray that you are. I pray that you are. Let's go. Authority. What power that you need in your life to make decisions for your life? What are some important decisions you need to make right now in your life? Right now, these are important decisions. And they need to take precedence over all of the smaller decisions. These are what I call horse decisions. Jeremiah 12:5 says, if you get entangled with the footmen, you can't even contend with the horses. You need to make some big decisions and leave them little decisions alone, the little stuff alone. Let's go. Character, there it is. ACT is how you act. In what ways do you need to improve your character, brother? Man, you know, at this age, you ought not be acting like that anymore. Next. Doctrine is beliefs. In this season of your life, what are some beliefs that you need to make sure you're holding on to? Man, at this level of my life, I need to believe these things. I call them closed fist. I have an open-handed policy. I mean, yeah, cool. We can agree to disagree on that. But these, closed fist. I'm all about it on that. Let's go. Understanding your mission in this season of your life. What's your mission now? What's your mission? Zeal. Raise the bar of standard. In this season of your life, how are you raising the bar so that others can see a better way? I'm emphatically passionate about this. I'm on fire. Got zeal about it. I'm raising the bar so people just can't hear a sermon but see one. What about you? In the final analysis, I said I'm going to hold you long. Here it is. What investments are you making in your life? Not just financially better, but spiritually better, morally better. Make things better in this season of life. Whose life are you making morally better? See, pour yourself in places where it matters. You're only a gallon of water. And whose life are you making spiritually better? And whose life are you making financially better? That's what the book of Titus is all about. Paul gives Titus a tough lesson, tougher than he gave Timothy. And I'm giving it to you. Let's talk about it on the other side of this video. Until next time. Peace.